Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill, the supplementary budget. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate Budget and Appropriation Committee and our chair, led by Honorable Ndende Nyoro, because, we really worked very hard to make sure that this budget and this supplementary has been up to date. Mr. Speaker, there are issues that we were able to address in regards to supplementary, and where we made it sure that we have appropriated money to make sure that certain ministries have been able to get some budget allocations to support them, especially on the issue of emergency, Mr. Speaker. And you realized, as our country, we had a situation whereby we were told about the El Nino, and the El Nino came before we could plan for it, and it had to force the Treasury and the ministries concerned to make sure that they have, some emergency money to deal with the El Nino and to deal with the flood, Mr. Speaker. This issue has really affected a lot of people, especially to make sure that our people have blankets, they have places to call home, because all of their homes and areas that probably were affected by this flood, Mr. Speaker, they were not able even to salvage anything as far as those issues are concerned. In my constituency, I have areas that were seriously affected by the flood, Mr. Speaker. We had areas in Mathare that were affected also by this flood. We have areas in Taita Tana River, and therefore it was prudent for us as a committee, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that we budget and we allocate funds for emergency, to make sure that we assist and help our people who are in dire need of this money, Mr. Speaker. We were able to allocate money. We were able to make sure that the concerned ministries, especially even on schools which were destroyed by floods, Mr. Speaker, we appropriated about 450 million to assist these schools so that they can be able to rebuild the schools and make sure that these students and our people are back to schools, Mr. Speaker, without any hindrance, because it was something that was not planned for. We didn't see it coming, but we had to make sure that we plan for the budget, make sure that they have enough resources so that they can rebuild the infrastructure, so that after the El Nino, Mr. Speaker, our students can be able to go back to school and maybe gain knowledge, so that, because we believe in our education system, Mr. Speaker, and we believe that our children are the next leaders of this republic, Mr. Speaker. We allocated about 450 million to make sure we will innovate the infrastructure as part of it in this supplementary, Mr. Speaker. We were able also to allocate money for insurance for the policemen, Mr. Speaker. Our policemen have been doing a great job to this Republic of Kenya. And every time we have insecurity issues, we always go to them for assistance. And therefore, it was important for the committee to make sure that we appropriate money for their insurance. They risk their lives, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes when we are fighting with the bandits, when they are making sure that our country is secure, the borders of our nation are also secured, Mr. Speaker. The insecurities within our villages, those are the people we go for and call for their help, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it was important for the committee to make sure we appropriate money, we appropriate the insurance fund, so that these police officers can be insured in case of any emergencies within the line of duty, or probably they are sick. They have a place. They don't have to be thinking about keeping the security of our nation, and at the same time, they are thinking on how they're going to be paying the hospital bills for them and their children, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, when the committee on security came, we thought it is prudent for us to make sure we appropriate money for their insurance, Mr. Speaker, and to make sure that they have a place, they have a safety net in case of any emergency. Mr. Speaker, when someone has eaten and you have food on the table, the next worrying thing, Mr. Speaker, is anything to do with the health. And therefore, we budgeted that money and we made it sure, and we told even the committee. And also, we want to say it because it was among the policies that we said that every ministry should make sure that the first charge within their budget, Mr. Speaker, is anything to do with the pending bill. We were able to put 300 million for LELEC because in the main budget, we're going to have 50 million per constituency. So we thought it is prudent for us to give them 300 million to start preparing the infrastructure so that when this money comes on board, Mr. Speaker, they are able to, to absorb and to assist us in our constituencies and make sure that the different committees, different constituencies, Mr. Speaker, are able to absorb the the money, and they have the infrastructure that is needed for us to be able to help our people, especially on the last mile, on the issues of transformers, on the issue of street rights, Mr. Speaker. We were able to appropriate, Mr. Speaker. And the last one was the food for primary schools, Mr. Speaker. We made it sure that there is money for food for our primary school kids, Mr. Speaker. Because for us to retain our students in schools, it is important for us to appropriate and to make sure they have a budget so that at least when they go to school, some of these kids, they sleep hungry, and they make sure that they go to school because they'll get a plate of food, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we did a good job, and I want to congratulate the Budget and Appropriation Committee. I'm a member there, and I support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me begin by saying that I support the appropriations. I support this motion on the supplementary estimates. Honorable Speaker, as I support it, let me highlight the following issues. The first one, Honorable Speaker, is that it is very difficult to make a budget when it is very glaring that the resources that are, the revenue side is not meeting the targets. Honorable Speaker, as we went through this process, we realized that one of the challenges that this country is going to face going forward is the fact that our KRA is not meeting the targets, revenue targets as defined by this House. And Honorable Speaker, this is happening despite this House going through the last Finance Act, and now we are having the current finance bill which we are going through, which has outlined various tax measures which propose to realize more revenues in the end. Honorable Speaker, the reason why this supplementary estimate is before us is because of failure to meet about 250 billion of projected revenues. Honorable Speaker, this is the reality of the matter, and this House needs to be aware that even if we have those ambitious projects which we want to achieve as a country, we will never achieve them if we do not meet the revenue targets. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, that is the first point I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make, Honorable Speaker, is that there is the question of increasing